Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this wonderful Tuesday, September 15th. And I'm joined with Michelle. How's it going, Michelle?
Hey, bro. Hey, bro. Nice to be here. Another 2-week break we had there. We seem to have done that over the summer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Lots going on.
It's a good thing. Lots to process, and it's a real, those waves are like every few days now. So it's this constant, like, readjust, realignment, And yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
A lot of physical symptoms going on. And
well, something I had reserved for the previous week, last week, was reports of feeling like tingling, like really strong tingling on the crown, and it like goes down the back, almost like, I don't know, tingly hair going down your back or something, but all the way down, and just feeling it like, I don't know, just almost engulfing you in that sort of,
it's like pouring down. Like I was feeling that the 2 weeks ago that we talked. I said, it went from that spiky feeling that sort of shoots and very electrically kind of charged feeling to this like warm, tingly, like something pouring down, and it's like tingly all the way down, and almost feel like it moves your hair.
Yeah.
Right. But it's under the skin as well. And it would just kind of pour down the side or pour down.
It is almost like goosebumps kind of going down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like a thick feeling with it.
Right. Well, one of the things I wanted to have people be aware of is that now we're coming up on the equinox, right? And a lot of times people, for some reason, that shift in the energies around the equinox awakens them to the shifts in our reality and the Mandela effect, and noticing things are different. So be on the lookout for people, because I think this kind of ties in with your dreams and your experiences we're going to get into with your dreams or whatever. But, people having strange dreams or occurrences, and just really pay attention to the people around you and what they say, because you might be able to offer some insight as more and more people are waking up in all sorts of ways. It's really a beautiful thing. If you pull back from all the chaos, there's something beautiful happening. And I think we're going to look back on these times and think, for those that didn't enjoy it right now, like, man, I should have enjoyed that more. I didn't realize so much was transforming at that time. We were like,
what a revelation.
Yeah, we were sheltered in place. We didn't see all this stuff going on behind the scenes. And I think really I can feel it. I can feel it energetically.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It really is a rising tide. You can feel the rising tide energetically. And sometimes like the energy is so much, when we tune into it, because just so, I feel it physically. I know a lot of us as empaths can be feeling it too, and it can really sort of come in as this shaky sort of a bit of anxiety feeling, and it really takes that ground, moving it through, letting it process, and keeping in that flow feeling, and just really tuning into that energetically, like every day, to really ground and settle, tune back into the essence of me, not the and what is the energy outside of me, sort of that's building, and sort of allowing that to literally fall away from that pillar of light that's inside. Just really using those visuals and just tuning back into the sensation of that pillar of light.
It's presence.
Letting all else fall away, and just letting all else just fall away, and then feeling the pull of that flow. We were talking about that a little bit earlier, the pull of that magnetic pull of that flow.
Yeah,
and letting go to that timing, not your own timing.
Absolutely.
right?
So there's
Mm-hmm.
this balance we're trying to achieve between, sort of watching what's going on, but staying centered and grounded and at that
Mm-hmm.
core of we were talking about like that feeling you get as a child when you don't even know there's things to worry about yet. It's like everything's just
Yes.
taken care of for you just by default. And it's like we live our whole life like learning like, no, you have to worry about that and you have to worry about this. And then before you know it, we're like lugging around all of this worry about all of these things. And it's sort of getting back to that place where you just relaxed and knowing everything is fine. And it brings about
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia. So we're,
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah. And I've been trying to tune into the essence of what that nostalgia is. Like what does it really mean? What was it in those moments when I fall back into, like you mentioned, one of the strong ones for you was a moment in the kitchen.
right, right.
And and it really is this simplicity of being safe and being loved, that it's not a question, and it's not a doubt. It just covers your system. And there's all these other mental tracks haven't been built and constructed
Mm-hmm.
that run all the worry and doubt programs that narrate all the time our experience in our head, and they haven't been developed yet. There's this simplicity to your core of knowing that you are safe and you are loved. And I it's that energetically, that place. And when this energy that comes in, when we tune into it, I know from the experiences that I've had in dreams, when it hits, I mean, it's that feeling times a million trillion. But you are so covered in knowing of being safe and being loved. And that is where this like real freedom comes from,
Mm-hmm.
this real sense of freedom. And and all those mental tracks and doubts don't need to exist or take place uh from that space, when you just know at your core that you are safe and you're loved unconditionally.
Right.
So yeah, so just trying to tune into and let all other things fall away. And I think a lot of the reaction and the chaos that we're seeing right now is an experience of people at their core not feeling safe and not feeling loved, and they're lashing out or displaying what all kinds of behavior, from very aggressive to passive aggressive, to virtue signal, all kinds of different things. But at the core of it, that is what it's come to, is they're missing that feeling
Mm-hmm.
of that unconditional safety and love. And it really is an energy, and it really is an existence. It is a real frequency. It is a real thing.
It's actually
It's
the only real
not
thing.
just it's the only real thing. it's
Right.
it's not just a concept, right? It's a real existence. It is a real love.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's the whole I am presence, though, and it's like
mhm,
tapping into that is where you really get it's the anchor, really, right? It's the
yeah.
anchor. It's like the only thing, and I've kind of got that visual where like everything's either slippery or you can't grasp anything except for that very core of who we are, that I am presence. That's the only place you're really going to find like refuge, right?
Yeah.
And
Like what I got, it's like you said slippery. I was seeing like like a water slide, those just crazy water
right,
slides. But what do they do? You just bring it in, and then
yeah,
you shoot right through it. You don't flail around, you don't try to grab on. You like,
right,
okay, let me redirect myself.
right.
No, you you pull it in, and then fly through that experience and can shoot through it, right? Otherwise, a whole bunch of stuff can go wrong.
Right, right. So I got this
Yeah.
visual in my mind of like if you've got all these stringed instruments that, somebody's been sort of holding the strings and keeping them from ringing, And that's people like locked into their just, going to work and paying their bills and all that. And this has sort of disrupted that and removed the hands from the strings, and they're ready to ring. They just need the other guitars in the room to begin to resonate and spread that vibration, right? So if you can think of us like that, like there's some of us that are shining this vibration, this higher vibration light out, and everyone's ready to ring in that. Everyone's ready to be a part of that, They just need us. And then if you take that a step further, you can see why they want us apart, because the heart energy, is the strongest within that 6-foot space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good tie-in. Here's our segue to what we're talking about was the light and the shadows. And that as the brighter the light is, the darker the shadows will appear, right? They will step forward to more clarity. They will appear much more dark. But in the end, the light, once illuminated from all angles and all perspectives, it overtakes and dissolves all shadows. But we are in that point of time that as the light gets brighter now, this illumination of shadows becomes more stark as well. But there's nothing to fear in that. We are the illuminators. We are the light itself. So by simply knowing that, you then shine brighter, and it just dissolves those shadows. There's nothing to do, even in action. It's just simply
turning on the light switch.
Light.
You don't turn on a dark switch, right?
Yeah. And you can observe the shadows for what they are, and just simply shine more light on them from all different perspectives. Be open to all different perspectives, right? Yourself. That's how you can, because if you only hit, like if you have an object and you're coming at it and shining at a light at it this way, you see a shadow here.
Right.
But by hitting all perspectives,
right,
and looking at and illuminating all perspectives yourself, you're hitting it at all directions and shining light. I hope that makes sense.
Oh yeah, and the shadows just dissolve away, don't they?
Yes.
That's like a well-lit stage, where the lights are completely around, and as they add the lights in, And as the light gets bigger and spreads more and more, then there's less areas for shadows to reside, right? So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
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 And we need that
light within ourselves
to get rid of the darkness. So it's like an automatic process, though.
And we are the projectors. The shadows are all really within us that are being illuminated out into our experience.
Reflecting back to us,
which segue again leads me to an energetic experience. We were talking about you're talking about the tingling on the head, and I had a really different sensation within the last couple of weeks since we've talked. I've noticed that yes, the tingling comes in, but there's also like that beam, that pillar of light feeling. And when I really tune into that, I've had this experience of sort of the beam or projector like feeling actually inside the head, that it has a pressure feeling to it, just like when we feel sort of that pressure. My head's tingling so much now just talking about
mine's
it.
tingling on the
I'm getting goosebumps.
It almost feels like static electricity kind of tingling, almost that tickly feeling.
That. Yeah,
like
exactly.
your hair standing up.
And then, but I find it'll build, like once I tune in and go more and more into that zone, it'll build sort of a pressure or beam like feeling that comes in. But this was unique because it felt like it was roaming around my head, like highlighting certain areas and feeling a pressure, and then literally feeling it move around, almost even like like a baby like rolls over in the stomach, like the pressure. I'm going to move my attention or pressure over to this side. Like it really kind of had that feeling to it, but it felt like a solid beam, like a beam of light moving around in different areas of my head. And when it did it, it had a feeling of pressure to it. And
so scanning around, activating something, or What do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely what it felt like. It's really, I have been really experiencing third eye activations. I feel are really strong over the last couple of weeks. And I do feel like it was directly attached to stimulating and activating the pineal gland and all of those connections
Mm-hmm.
within. I'd experienced it previously like that sort of stabbing, sort of pickaxey kind of electric feeling that sort of dives in and then will shoot down and sort of stimulate or shoot out in different areas, and really get that visual that it's creating, it's blasting through these pathways, those trails. So instead of the mind taking those old mental construct, those old pathways,
Right.
those are getting grown over from not being used. They just dissolve away, right?
Right.
Um, and these new pathways are being forged or activated from the pineal gland into the brain, and so we're experiencing that in different ways. This definitely felt like that, uh, and it was like beaming into different parts uh, of the brain. And yeah, it was definitely those sort of visuals that it has to do with activating those, not just the pathways, but brain centers with this.
Right.
Like those currents were stimulating or charging, like just like you brings somebody back to life with electrical charge.
Yeah.
It was like charging those pathways, and this was like beaming activation into the brain center components. So yeah. That's what I was feeling with that. Very strong though, very very strong.
Oh, cool. Sherry Zigman is saying, "Oh my God, I have that feeling too."
Oh good.
So grateful to have
Yay.
someone else confirm this.
Oh good, thank you. Thanks for the affirmation too, I appreciate it.
And it's funny because I like either will know exactly what you're talking about or I won't, and then later on I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this is what Michelle was talking about." You know what I mean? But you had kind of even talked, now that I think about it, you mentioned that whole thing with the crown and going down the back of your neck thing a while back. I totally forgot about that. So it's just
Oh
not
yeah,
happened to me. So that's something you brought up before. That's
getting
just,
it more and more. And as you become more aware and it gets more activated, you're just going to notice more sensation. It just becomes normal. Like sensations that were weird or unique or one off, like you just start to overlap. And, um, and then it just adds these different elements to the whole experience.
yeah,
So, it really is in a lot of ways, sort of this gradual turning up, like the frog in the hot water. You just adding these elements, but you don't realize, like, if we were to switch, like split screen, boom, pop back over to, 2 years ago and actually feel the difference in the experience comparatively, you would really notice the vibration level, I think is one of the big things. You would actually notice how consistently you're experiencing vibration
that's a
and the
good
crown
point.
and the feelings of the crown, and all kinds of things. I think that would be unique to each of us, but I think it would really be surprising if you were to step in distinctly from one body into the next and feel that as a physical experience. It'd be a lot more noticeable to you as opposed to this really gradual building up of things.
Even if you
But
look at the last 2 years just in the global scale, you know? I mean, think
yeah,
of like, I mean, there's been a huge buildup, and
I've
there's still people that's like, there's nothing going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, just look around, and then don't.
yeah, I think it's pretty hard for a lot of people in 21 or 2020 to say
Yeah.
there's not much going on.
Yeah, it's
You
fine. We
know,
finally reached a point where that's not a good excuse
yeah,
anymore, huh?
it's so funny. I was talking to Travis a couple days ago about how the beginning of the year, like usually you have a sense at the beginning of the year of sort of kind of milestone movements or shifts,
Yeah.
like directionally, whether it's like career or relation something. And I couldn't see anything. I was like, I just don't know. Like it's just blank. And it's just funny how things have just played out. A lot of those questions I had about what certain steps would be were just completely irrelevant. And that's
Right.
why I couldn't see, because they were just completely irrelevant. They just didn't, yeah, that's not even gonna be up to you. So so there's no point. And it's just funny to see that play out as well. It really has just been kind of going along for the ride,
That's what it
right?
is. I just hear stuff. I put it on the shelf. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to really commit to anything. I'm just observing at this point because
Yes.
I feel the
Yeah.
more expectations you place on something, the more it locks you into maybe something you don't want. I'm waiting for the surprise. I know it's going to be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think more expectation too. It blocks you from receiving the intuitive messages on direction and events to happen.
Oh, yeah.
No, which, well, we should get into that dream now. Then, while we're on it,
Right. Because if you have
so
expectations about something, then if something comes that doesn't match your expectations, you might throw it out thinking that, oh, well, that doesn't fit with how I thought things were going to happen. So, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So,
yeah, exactly, discard it. So, what I'm really feeling is sort of a symptom, I guess, of this third eye activation, increasing pineal activation, is I'm noticing in dreams. So I've had prophetic dreams like my whole life, where uh, there's a specific there's also a resonance to it, and it really is sort of walking through an experience. I have a dream where I go through this experience, and then it may be the next day, it may be 2 years, it may be 10, but then there'll be a moment where all of a sudden there you are walking through that experience. So what I've noticed lately, there's a difference. um, this is going forward in time and having an experience, and then it's like already done, so I don't have to go and do it.
right.
Like, it kind of quickens things up.
Yeah.
um like, I make a decision, I go forward, I adjust the timeline accordingly, I come back and then just watch it play out. That's what it feels like. So because I've had a couple experiences, but the best example is well, my iPad died after our trip last August. I was like, oh. And my phone was going over the last couple weeks, and it was like my last ticky gadget, which I was like, fine. It was like, if the universe wants to take it away from me, take it. Take it. If you don't want me spending time on it, and okay, take it. Take it. I just let it go,
Right.
right? It's going, battery's dying. And when it fell in the toilet, I was like, yeah, okay. Universe has spoken, right? Let's just let it go. Like, it's done. I'm not gonna cry about it. I'm not gonna, like, it's done. I don't have that toy anymore. All right. And I've also, I've had the experience where, the money will get down to a certain point, and I'm like, oh, am I gonna have to do something about this? Because I'm like down to, and then something will just play out, and I'm like, okay, I guess I don't. All right, cool. I don't have to worry about that. So, but it was getting down to now. So I'm like, the phone goes, well, I don't have money to get another phone. And I also, then that I had a dream where I was in the store. I knew I had plenty of money, and it was not an issue. So because it wasn't an issue, it was like, well, I don't actually have to just get a phone. Um, I'm having a conversation and making the decision that, oh, I'm actually going to get an iPad. Like, I can do that. Like, it died before. I've really missed it. I'd rather have that. And it really was just like an everyday experience. It didn't have that sort of separate resonant vibration, surreal feeling like the prophetic dreams. It literally felt like that's what I did. I experienced doing that, having the conversation, making that decision. I was like, okay, I'm going to get the iPad. And I felt really good about it. It was done. And I woke up and it was like, it was done. The feeling carried with me of knowing that I had the money. So I knew that I was going to be doing that. I knew that I was going to have money coming in. I didn't know how, but within less than 2 days, it was a day or 2 days within that dream. Boom. There's the money, easy peasy, no sweat. And I didn't even have to make the decision. I already knew what I was going to do. Mom and I went to the store. I didn't have to have that conversation again. I already had the conversation. I already decided that it was going to happen. So I just went and got exactly what I wanted. Easy peasy, and went home. It was like, well,
Wow, what a time saver.
yeah, yeah, but it really, like, I already did it. And it's very similar to, my mom less than a year ago, beginning of this year. Was it December? It was December. It was around her birthday, where she went in. She had the dream. She's like, well, apparently I won money at this casino. So like, apparently I'm going to the casino today. Like, that's just what I'm doing. It's already done. And she went, and she won. And I would have been more surprised if she didn't win than she did. Like, it's just new. And you're kind of like going through the experience of like, this is really weird. Like, I guess I'll just go with it. And it just plays out. And you're like, well, that's what we knew. And so we've had this experience like so many times now. So it wasn't really a surprise, but I just find as this energy of understanding and deciphering symbolism. Wow. Yes. Okay. Who's seen the movie Arrival? Have you seen the movie Arrival? It's a language. So these aliens come in, they're benevolent, but everybody's suspicious. And they teach a language, and it's like a symbol, and it's explained that they write it all at once, but it would be the same as us writing a sentence, like with both hands, from starting at the finish of the sentence, like the beginning and the end of the sentence, and writing it all in the same time, all at once. Like, it was a different way that they communicated through language, their symbolism. And that's what symbolism is. It tells you a whole story all in one sort of configuration. And what happens through the movie is, as the language expert, as she deciphers this language and how they read this language, suddenly she starts having memories from the future. She's experiencing a multi-dimensional reality. She's having memories sweep in just like you would from the past, but she's having them sweep in from the future. And it's tied and connected to her ability to comprehend and decipher this language. It actually opens up a multi-dimensional experience as well. And that's actually kind of what's going on right now. And it has been shown to me that that's what's happening with me. In that as I constantly, like throughout my days, sort of perceive my reality through the symbols and the stories, the synchronicities, all these common things, and looking how they weave together in my perspective, it increases my ability to sort of have this multidimensional experience, and especially through dreams, and literally be aware now of popping forward in the future and having that experience ahead of time, and it's already done. Yeah.
That kind of gets into the whole idea of the communication seeming to becoming more and more inadequate these days. As I look down there,
it's all you can write is communication.
Right.
That was our notes. We were talking way before the show. We were talking, and then just before the show, he's like, "Did you write notes?" And I'm like, "No, I thought you were writing notes." And you look down. Well, all I wrote was communication. I don't even know.
But you just reminded me when you said that. You just reminded me. So it is. It's what you're noticing, that it just regular communication seems to be breaking down. Things are being misunderstood. This could be the whole mask thing. I don't know, because you can't hardly understand people anymore. But even before that whole thing happened, it just seems like people misunderstand you a lot, or I don't know. Just completely hear something completely different than what you said. But
yes, no, yeah, two different people can hear the same sentence. I'm noticing this too, much like that Laurel Yanny thing, and hear something completely different,
right.
Or see something different even.
Yeah.
I really am seeing this Like you can really have your own perceptual experience. I don't think people realize that. Like you can hear one thing and somebody else hears something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we really live in these sort of bubbles because I like to pop around from perspectives. I noticed that, especially with social media, that no they create perspective bubbles so that you think that when you're over here in this perspective that you've got this majority bubble around you
All right.
of alignment. It's kind of a false illusion that it's sort of creating these bubbles or pockets of perception that feel insulated, that sort of insulate you uh, into that and keep you in those bubbles of sort of thinking everybody else is thinking the same way. So I'm
That's
seeing
what's so
that.
cool, though. It's like, and that's what I've been noticing as you travel from bubble to bubble. It seems like everybody's truth is playing out exactly like they're expecting it to. But if
Exactly,
you get
Shane.
out
Yes.
of all of the bubbles, you look and you're like, they're all so slippery, like we were talking about earlier. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like some of them are like contradictory to each other. So, you know what I mean? So, from this perspective, they're all not going to play out. I mean, from within it, they might, but that might split off into another timeline. Who knows how it works? But when you're
Yeah.
outside of those worldviews, you just look and you're like, they're all playing out just like everybody expects them to play out, but they're slippery because you don't know. I mean, which one are you going to cling to right now? And I think that's the whole idea. You're not supposed to cling to any of these stories. You're supposed to
That's
get
it.
back to the only thing that is real, and that's the I
The
am,
flow.
the love, the flow, you know?
A pillar within
Yeah,
you that is your own unique truth. That
right.
is your own unique truth, and letting those bubbles or those things that cling, those perspectives that cling to us, allowing yourself to let them go. I don't, they're right, they're wrong, they're this, they're that, they need to be said, whatever it is, just taking time each day
Right.
to let them all fall away.
Yeah.
No matter how right they are, no how matter, just let it all fall off of you and not be any of it for a little bit.
And you know how I was telling you how I had that feeling like, look, you just want to be pointed in the right direction. So when the energy gives you that shove, that push, you go where you're wanting. And then you can see how if you got all these little bubbles and we're in some type of terminal or some station, right? Grand Central Terminal, right?
Hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
maybe everyone's going to hop off in their bubble and go off and experience what they think they're going to experience perfectly, you know? Maybe that's
Yeah.
this node point that we're at right now. I mean, it's just another
Yeah.
reason to be focused on what you want rather than all of this chaos if you don't want the chaos, you know?
Yeah. So you really have to get very specific with yourself and understanding what it is you're searching for and why.
Mm-hmm.
What what is it you feel you're missing and why? What is
Mm-hmm.
it you feel you need? Like what is it you're really asking the universe for
Right.
with your actions and your thoughts? Really, truly, to make sure that you're online with that. And you'll find that when you take the time to ask those questions, a lot of those requirements need to be let go of.
Right.
They're just control measures, and you really have to recognize them and let them fall away
Absolutely.
because the universe always has a better offer.
And we know
It
this
really,
at our core, and that's really what you're trying to
yeah,
get back to. That's that
yeah.
safe feeling that you were talking about early on. That
Mm-hmm.
brings on that nostalgia of like, oh, when I didn't have a care in the world, or before I knew I needed to worry, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before I knew I needed to worry. That's funny, and it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of like undoing all of that programming, isn't it?
It really is. And lifting off and realizing that that's not you. That's an identity that's being constructed. That's a mask. We have many different ones, some of us more than others, but to go through this onion process of within ourselves of being willing to um let these masks go and peel them away one by one to a deeper level, to the core element of um am I feeling safe, am I feeling loved, and if not, why,
Right.
and asking those deeper questions. Yeah.
But that inner peace, that's when you get to that point, that's when I always can see the broader picture. When I'm able to let all the stories go and just find that inner peace and just resonate in that, that's when I can totally feel like you just see the broader picture. It's almost like you're looking from the mountaintops at that point. And you're not, sort of blinded by the forest. The whole forest for the trees comment with
It really is important. This pushing us each day, like to really be in that state. I am noticing a much deeper state of meditation that then stays with me through dream and sleep, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's got to do with being able then to have these like multidimensional experiences in sleep. It's a real mastery time in the opportunity that as much as this is pushing in our environment like on a daily basis, again, it's opportunity to practice consistently on a daily basis. So it's pushing you to do that and feel the experience deeper. It's a choice to feel it deeper and deeper within the core of you and grab on to that more and more, or to be on the outside. But it's pushing us on a daily basis to make that choice. And I think if you can consistently do that, through the day and bringing it back to the core of me, when going into sleep and going into deep meditative states, the power that we have now is really quite phenomenal, I think, to go in and mold and redefine our our relationship to this world and how we experience it, and switching up timelines and making conscious and subconscious decisions like merge together on the direction of what we want to do, how we want to feel, what we want to experience.
Right. And it's getting back into that moment where you're connected, so you know what to resonate with, because the feeling brings about the result, rather than it's sort of creating the result and then I'll feel it, It's like, no, feel it now and then watch it all unfold right before your eyes. One of the things, and I think, on a very 3D level that's practical, but even on an energetic level, we've got all of these things happening with, the Schumann and just our connectedness with the earth itself increasing in vibration and evolving into this higher perspective or whatever. But the magnetics on the earth have been wonky, right? We've been hearing how we're in this grand solar minimum and our poles are moving and they're moving around. And I think this might have something to do with the strange feelings I was having, where I talked about where it felt like things were mirror or flipped in my perception of them. And it was just really strange the way I perceived it backwards. And another time it was happening where I was driving this direction, but geographically it felt like I was driving the opposite direction. So I'm not saying it felt like I was moving backwards. It just felt like I was driving the other direction, like in my scenery and everything. So I felt like this could be something with the magnetics. And, there's just so many factors. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's, you look at the birds and their migratory patterns and how they literally tune in. Well, how do they do that? They don't talk to each other. They don't get a report on CNN to tell them which direction to fly in, right? They have, and the fish in the sea, they can tune into the magnet. We don't realize, but our bodies do it as well. And I know there is, rapid movement to the magnetic poles that keeps increasing. I don't follow that data daily like we do this Schumann. I'm not sure where to look it up, but I certainly know within the last couple of decades it's rapidly increasing. And I think with these changes that's happening, and I think that could be part of what we're experiencing. Like something feels off.
Something feels backwards.
It's like you're leaning to one. Yeah, it's a shift.
As soon as that made me realize that, like I've always sort of had a good sense of direction.
Me too. Yes.
Where I kind of just feel north and west and south, no matter where I'm going, and I can always tell when I'm lost. I've lost my sense of direction. I have no idea. The roads were too curvy. I've gone through too many turns, and I've got to get somewhere where I recognize it to undo it and reset, because I'll feel lost. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So I'm thinking maybe it's something to do with that. Like maybe it's not all like your sense of direction, but maybe we do have these. I've heard about cells in certain animals that are like magnetically aligned so they can sense the direction through these. I forgot what they're called. It was like a Discovery Channel special thing. But it's
you know
a very
what? I
scientific
felt
thing.
it though.
Right.
I like when I've had those like super crazy real dreams, like or even out of body experience, and feeling, being able to move myself or levitate within the dreams, like with such control. There's a physical feeling. It feels like, yes, it feels like every cell has a little rudder in it.
Right.
We actually get a little visual, like a
Right.
little rudder, and it is it's magnetic.
Right.
It has a magnetic feeling, and it's like adjusting a little magnetic rudder
Mm-hmm.
on each of the cells. That's what it feels like, and it allows me to move around in that environment. But it's a very physical
And
feeling.
when you're lost, it feels like they're all kind of like, what's going on and stuff, and it just feels very
Yeah,
uneasy, you know.
yeah. But I do think that's part of this activation as well.
Right.
Those little rudders getting activated. So
It's very
as
true.
we tune into that too. Mm-hmm.
But I definitely want to mention that because it's pretty disorienting when it happens. It's like, why did I just feel like, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's one of those weird moments that's
Shift.
not quite a day. Yeah, it feels like a shift.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I do. There's a lot of different shifts. There's a lot of different things that's shifting the perspective right now, and I think that's one of the many things that could be doing it. And it could be affecting to that feeling. Maybe it's overlapped. As it shifts, maybe it's a timeline shift, or all of those things.
Oh yeah.
Because I talk about those times where it feels like I have to get used to the body again.
Yeah.
And even moving around, like I'm in a new space, a new body. My body's different. I have to. Oh, these are my legs. This is how you walk. Losing balance easily. So those sensations coming and going, which I expect we'll probably experience again heavily over the next couple weeks.
Well, if
right?
you think about it though, if there's shifts in the energy and that shifts your perceptions about how you're perceiving things, because I've had that happen a lot where all of a sudden I feel anxiety or maybe anger or agitation or whatever, and I'm like, I have no reason to feel that way about that. Maybe I'm picking something up energetically. So there's shifts in the energy, shifts in your perceptions of the energy, and then all of this other stuff with magnetics and Schumann. So I think it's all connected, you know what I mean? And I think things can sort of stack up and make us feel certain ways, but really it's sort of getting back to that anchor thing, being in the present moment and letting all that other stuff go, and then you can find that inner peace,
Yeah.
And the conscious breath.
It's got to be the priority right now. Yeah. It's especially when there's so much, can feel like so much chaos going on. There's a lot of peace going on too.
Yeah.
Hey, we're talking peace in the Middle East. Yeah. There's also a lot of peace going on as well. So
it's what you focus on,
I think it is
the
wheat
working, or the tares, there's always bad stuff to focus on, and there's always good things to focus on.
I think in a lot of ways, we're seeing like those dark shadows really are the worst elements of the ego and how it lashes out.
And then the media is designed to highlight that stuff because that's what, gets people worked up and keeps them tuned in. And I got to tune in at 10 and see what this guy's saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's just good to keep pulling back and make sure that you're not losing too much energy from it. It really is like it can really pull this energy out of you too. So it's really important to, because I like to observe and keep watching everything. It's part of reading the story and the symbolism and seeing and sort of having this interpretation of seeing how the story is unfolding and knowing the foreshadowing and all that. So I really like to view it, but at the same time, again, right now it calls me to every day. It's like, okay, I can feel it right here. When it's time to shut it off, let it all fall away. Right. And just tune back into that before I plug in again. So there really is awareness, I think right now needed with that, hence the phone going in the toilet. I mean, I do think that was like, okay, you get it. So now we'll give you an iPad. That's great. Because.
But it's like if you give it a chance long enough, you start to realize the difference in how you feel after watching a few videos that get you worked up, and the feeling of just not even paying attention to that and just resting in that inner peace of knowing it's all working out. You know what I mean? And then the more you rest in that, the more you're like, you know what? I don't need. If something's big enough, I'll hear about it. I don't need to It's not because your mind will tell you stuff like there could be exciting things happening and you're missing it. You know what I mean? But
No, yeah, I used to get on the yeah, it's fine, it'd be a fine line, but as opposed to getting on the roller coaster and just sort of watching it go, ooh, look at it go, oh, it's going around a curve. But I think that over the next couple weeks as well, we're going good possibility of seeing a lot of those things play out on the screen. Yeah. So I think it'll be a good reminder as that may happen and the popcorn starts flying, just to, just keep breathing, and it's part of the show. Yeah.
the popcorn starts flying. I like that.
Yeah. Literally. Literally. It's gonna be a crazy few weeks ahead still. So
Oh, I looked down right at 45, 45. I think it's 45. My eyes are blurry, so it looked like a synchronicity. I'm not quite sure.
yeah.
All right. Was there anything else we needed to cover?
I don't think so.
I don't
Unless
think so.
anybody
Any
had
other
any
symptoms?
questions.
I haven't had any dreams and stuff myself. It's been super quiet for me. Even the feeling that I had a dream and not remembering it, I just been knocked out. I did have the weird activation thing where one of my hands vibrated like for about a second, and the other hand vibrated for a second, and my one. In my sleep or whatever, my wife mentioned it to
Yeah.
me, and I was like, "What?" She goes,
Yeah, you
"I
were
know you talk
asleep. It
about
was
downloads
yeah.
and stuff. I thought maybe something like that was happening." So yeah, I'm thinking maybe some
Yeah.
weird activation, but it reminded me of that moving around beam in your head thing you're talking about. So
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of locates different areas. Yeah.
right,
This was very, very strong. It was surprisingly strong.
right,
The feeling of it, where I'm just kind of lying there like,
right,
okay, and breathe. I'm like, there's something moving around in my head right now, as
right.
bizarre as that is. So, but
But the other
uh
thing we talked about a while back about feeling like the bed's slightly vibrating when you're laying in bed, I haven't been
mm,
getting that much anymore. It was
oh
like I went
really?
through like a phase of it doing it really bad, and now it's pretty
Hmm.
smooth.
For
But
me,
maybe I'm
it's a steady. It's a vibrate that I just actually feel the vibration inside of me
it's all the
at a
time, huh?
core. Yeah, yeah, it's all the time. I can tune into it, and it's just like a vibration. We talked about that wubba wubba and the
Yeah,
metal sheet or
yeah.
whatever. So it really is like this, where it's just kind of
Right,
like that. So it's not, but I get this. That's where I say, um, I get the sense of taking in too much or whatever. The external energy where you can start to feel that bow out.
right.
It was a wubba, and there's like more of a dramatic shift to it energetically. So it just requires coming back in, and then it's just a vibratory hum. It's pretty consistent all the time. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
just vibing away in there now. Like I said, if we were to take a step back and plop ourselves into our physical experience, I think it would be pretty noticeable
You think it would be
how
a stark
dramatic.
stark difference, almost like walking from a hot sunny day into an air conditioned
Yes.
house. You think it would be like
Yeah.
energetically, you feel like, wow, this feels a lot different than 5 years
Yeah,
ago,
like when
10
I
years
got
ago.
off the plane, when I got off the plane in Arizona from coming from Canada, right, for the
Right.
first time, and literally stepped, it's like a wall. Yeah. I think it really would be that kind of stark difference that would allow us to see it. But
That's
there's a
interesting.
lot of, like I said, consistent sensations that were like one-offs and uniques, at the time when they first started, that are now just an everyday part. They don't leave.
Right.
They come in more. So like I pretty much consistently feel like I have headgear on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a certain, I've described it before. It's a certain piece. Feels like I'm literally wearing something,
Wow.
right? That has pressure here. And really what will kick in is the tingling and stuff like that, or vibration, as sort of it gets activated. But it really is like at any time, like a grip,
Right.
like a pressure. Like I'm wearing a crown.
I know exactly what you mean because I have the same thing with
Hmm.
my hands. All I have to do is just really pay attention to them and I can feel them vibrating, like buzzing,
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that
That for
happened.
me, that's like
Yeah.
that's this, and yeah, can really feel the effect of it. And in this area too, this is really the pressure feeling, and I do feel like, yeah, that's really going to pick up over the next couple weeks.
Right.
So lots of heart palpitations and stuff like that coming, and really feeling that vibration in
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So just remember, it's not anxiety, it's just energy, perception of how you receive it.
Mm-hmm.
So just receive it with grace, and sort of a sureness. And again, picturing that pillar, if you can go back into that pillar, a beam of light, and letting all those distractions just fall away, those things that cling energetically, and just allowing them one by one to fall away is going to be really important, and that will stabilize that reverberation feeling that can kind of get too much and can
Right.
almost make you feel nauseous, dizzy, feel like hyper unsettled, difficulty sleeping, all those different things. So
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, and I'm getting to that, more experiences of the silent migraines of, it's not a headache, but seeing visuals in your, like,
Right. Right.
seeing stuff. We've talked about that before, so, to highlight that too,
Mm.
the silent migraines. It's weird. It's like you're projecting something in your vision. I haven't been receiving it the last couple of weeks, but just getting to remind
That's when
everybody of
people were
that.
seeing the little DNA spirals or something
I
moving,
did.
right?
Yeah,
Right. Oh,
I
okay.
did saw that. It was really like just over the course of the summer, but we'd heard people talking about that before, but
Right.
I did. It went like rainbow. It was a whole thing. It showed me a whole show. I haven't had it since then. Lots of, I mean, the orbs and the sparks are very clear now in the color.
Right.
They're gold for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they like to come into my vision like this and then go, "Meow," like change direction. Like before, it used to be like sort of, it started like a little peripheral thing. Like it would just go like across like this.
Right.
And now it's like, it's very definitively, a golden glow. And it just like, likes to come in and sort of meander in my view and then just kind of drop like a little
Nice.
fairy or something. I don't know, but I mean that's kind of increasing, it going from sort of this shooting star sensation out of
Right.
the corner of the vision to like now it's like, hey, how you doing? What are you doing today? Okay, that's great.
Right.
I'm like, hey, how are you? Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So definitely feeling that like I feel like a connection with it. There's
I always feel like it's
in
fairies or
making
something. I'm
its
like, yeah.
presence known,
All right.
you know, at certain specific times based on what I'm perceiving.
Right.
Even if I'm tapping into something energetically or whatever, it'll sort of pop in there and affirm things and do a little dance and be on its merry way. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's really picked up. But yeah, stuff in the vision, especially as this third eye activation, I think there could be a whole myriad of ways people are experiencing that as they get their own activations.
Right.
We're
And
all our own unique little beings in this too,
all right.
in our perception. So
I'd have
and
to say,
ability.
for me anyway, because I've never been quite the meditator, like long periods of time. Like usually 20 minutes, I'm like too sleepy and stuff like that. So I do more of the conscious breathing that we talked about. But in the times now, it's like just it doesn't take long at all to silence my mind, and I get right into this place where I get the peace, and then I get the
Mm-hmm.
information, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would just encourage anybody that's tried it, really wasn't the thing for them, just to sit down quietly for 5 minutes or just outside. You don't even have to like close your eyes. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, you know, putting yourself in listening mode rather than paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to or worrying about or trying to figure things out. You'll be surprised what comes through when you
It's
say, I don't
amazing.
know. It's almost like an I don't know feeling, like I don't know. I don't know it doesn't matter to me right now. All that matters is
Mm-hmm.
this very moment, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can just like let all that go, and then whatever you need to feel or see or know in that moment has room. You
Just comes
create a
in.
space to, yeah, and that seems to
Yeah.
have gotten so easy now. So um, I would encourage anybody to take just a few minutes if you haven't done it in a while and you're like, yeah, I've tried it before and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the thing for me. Just try 5 minutes, see what happens.
I was getting such a fun visual of that process when in the, the meditation, and when you can let all the exterior thoughts just go, and then silence, and then you allow these messages to just kind of come in and unfold themselves, or kind of unpack themselves in front of you. And I got that, those little folded paper things we used to play with when we were a kid, and it was like like this, and you pick this, and then okay, 1, 2, 3, and I just it just, that's kind of how it feels like. It just kind of comes in and just unfolds itself for you, and you just kind of sit back and you watch, and you're like, oh, okay, that, and then it'll go, oh yeah, okay, there you go.
Right, exactly. You know what? In a lot of ways,
does it feel like that?
A lot of ways, it's like we've got this room that we're hanging out in, and it's just filled with stuff all the time. And as soon as you like let that stuff like create the space, then you have room for other stuff to come in there. So really, that's a pretty simple analogy of and it's not fighting it. It's just kind of like
come in with this like image or concept, right? And you just kind of observe it, and then. But if you're like, well, like explain that a little bit more, right? It'll do that. It'll unfold it for you. Yeah. And it's a fun experience. It's a fun thing to do, and you can see how all these different things, like, it allows the subconscious to pull out all these different themes, especially those symbolism, those common ties, and what unites everything in the web. And that's really what it shows you too. It's like, you see how that's the same as that, and that's like connected to that, overlaying those images. And
what's really cool about that I love is that you go and you do that, and you get this information that comes through, and then maybe you're unsure about it, but then you'll tune in, I don't know, Magenta Pixie or Lori Lett or Phil Good or any of these other people, and then they say what you got, and you're like, wait a minute, okay, so these people seem connected. That they're saying what I feel deep down inside of me. I'm just going to go with that and trust. So that's it. That's really all we can do, right?
And that's exactly what I find. Like when I was saying, like reading the whole world around you, like you will see those storylines, those messages, and those story arc, like, and you'll hear those affirmations, those pictures that other people perceive, the metaphors that unite everything, and you just start to see it run through everything.
That's the cool thing is I've gotten like metaphors or little visuals in my mind, and then I'll tune into, I think most recently Lori Lett had a visual, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like my visual, but a completely different example of it, you know what I mean? But it was saying the same thing, and it's so cool because you can see that the messages came through, but it fit inside how you best receive stuff and the examples that you know of and stuff. And then it's very catered to your, individuality and experience.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Like a Crystal Time video you sent me too, and I went through that whole thing, and I got unique things out of that were very specific to me, like which interpreted my dream we talked about last time we did the show. I think it was with the snake, right? And holding the snake, and boom, what does she say? Like so right after we were talking about it, I go and listen. She's like, it's that you can handle the snake, right? It's not like you can handle it, to show that you can handle it.
Right.
And it was a very specific term that she said, and she actually like corrected the terminology to be specific about that you can handle it,
right?
Which was really my experience. It's like handling that snake, and I could handle it, right? So those types of things.
It was even biting you, right? But you weren't even.
Yeah,
you didn't
care. But I could handle it. I was like,
It's almost
good.
like you saw through the fear of it, and you're like, it's not really hurting.
I was in the zone. Yeah. I was like, So that's really unique. Like to take a unique story from a dream, and then have it be like you passing this to have those overlays of information.
Right.
And when that happens all the time, consistently through your experience, it tells a story for you and a pattern to follow. And then you just see it run through everything. There's no surprise. Like, amazing too. It was one of the other videos we shared together recently, the My Pet Goat 3 one.
Oh, right.
And we watched that together. I was like, oh my gosh. I've seen that like right when it started with the 3 circles. I was like, literally, like when I go into the deep meditation, that's been one of the first things that I see.
Right.
As soon as I clear it all away, it's like, boom. just these 3 circles, and just the way that video started and that whole imagery, and it was like, that's it. That's what I see, you know?
Right.
So it's just so profound to have that constantly happening now.
But what I noticed that
Daily.
I know everybody else noticed, especially in this community or whatever, is the interconnectedness of everything. So while sometimes you'll get information that directly sort of confirms something maybe for you, a lot of times you'll also get other, or maybe it's that you just notice it when it's coming through. But that movie or that video that I sent you, she talks about the arrow or whoever it is in the sky with the arrow or whatever. But I had already been getting all this arrow stuff at the time. And so when that came through, it didn't have anything to do with what she was talking about really, but it was just kind of coming up, you know what I mean? It's like there's the arrow thing again, you know, and it's like sort of drawing my attention to it over and over again, you know, and it's just, I don't know, it's just pretty cool.
Yeah. Those stories are, I think, too, when those different symbols come up, I think it would be very interesting to find that you may find the relevance of those stories currently in the sky, in the constellations and the story arcs that are in the sky, and that those themes actually present themselves or project down to us when we're in these alignments and the planets move through this energy. You'll actually pick up on the symbolic stories and symbolic meanings of that energy, like an arrow or an archer, which, you know, I am, right? And you'll be seeing them play out. Some, you know, another interesting thing to play with, which I've been really diving into lately. There's like Crystal Time is a good one that talks about that and how those stories like play out. So those themes become prevalent, and I think it's that's where it gets fun to start to read the story in a different way.
Right. Yeah, that's Crystal Time with a Y too, for time, T-Y. If you want to look up her channel. Crystal Time.
Yeah. Yep. Livette talks about it too.
I need to get over and see what's up with Livette, because she's always got really cool stuff every time I stop in, and it doesn't matter when I stop in. It's usually, you know, something that interests me or whatever. But it's been a while, probably definitely over a year. It might have been, it could have been 2 years.
Well, she definitely talks my language for me, and I'm like, even I'm Aquarius, like. There's just so many themes that she picks up, which are even like are consistent in my own storyline, you know, my own alignments.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things that she talks about that actually are specifically relevant to my own chart. I think we have some common themes, or I'm not sure what it is, but I definitely understand. Like, it's like when she talks about these things, whole stories unfold in a few words. I understand a larger story, but so it's fun.
Definitely. But you know, still that thing, you know, that craving, that thirst for information, you know, if once you get that, you can feel when you're not harmonized anymore. You know, you just kind of feel yucky when you spend a little bit too much time in that stuff that triggers you, you know, and then getting back to that moment where you're feeling more harmonized, and I don't know, you can just tell. And the more you make that transition back and forth, the more you want to stay in that harmonized, you know. And
what's going on is just pushing us to do that. It's calling us and asking us to do that. So, you know, it really is
right.
In a lot of ways, that's kind of the way life works, you know.
And I think we are broadcasting.
It can make things a little uncomfortable in order to push you in the direction that you need to go. And that direction right now is within in sort of stable, sovereign space within yourself, and tuning into your own energy and not the distractions. So the chaos serves a purpose towards our own mastery right now.
Right.
It's not being done to us. It's for
us, Absolutely. Well, it's been a great show. So I've missed you so much, Michelle.
I missed you too. Yeah.
All right, you guys. Lots of love, light, and unity to everybody there in the chat and watching later. And thanks again, Michelle, for taking the time to come on here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. I'm just waiting for Zoe to jump on me and say
Oh
goodbye.
yeah,
She always knows.
I was
But yeah,
waiting
we're
for her to say
good.
goodbye. Okay, bye, Zoe. Lots of love. Bye.
Thanks.
Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.